Okay, it's April 4th, 2020. And I give the date so I can see how much I've improved in 6 months or so. And of course, this is Fritz 14. I'm going to check to make sure my screen is set up correctly. Oops. Yeah, that looks good. Just, oops, man, I did it again. Just to show you what I'm actually recording here. Well, you know what I'm recording, but this is how it looks before I actually start recording. This is a very short game. Let's go through some of our rules, principles, and ideas very quickly. I've done this before, but I really want people to learn from my channel and, of course, to learn chess better. So, basic ideas that beginners should be applying as rules to their games. And the distinction between rule, principle, and ideas, the rules are this is what you do. No questions. You just do it and you start beating your other beginners and you become a more of an intermediate player. Now, once you get to an intermediate player and you really want to be an advanced player, then you can break the rules and you apply the rules that you learn as principles, which means in some instances you might delay canceling. You might move a piece twice. That's considering them as principles and recognizing sometimes you have to violate a principle to achieve your goal. And finally, ideas. Not only do you follow these uh, rules and principles as ideas, but sometimes you have to violate an idea. And more importantly, you can create new ideas to fit your style of play or to fit the positions and the openings that you come across that you repeatedly find yourself in. Okay, having said that, let's go through this real quick because we've gone through it before. Developing pieces, maintaining mobility, controlling the center, safety for your king. That's what you want to achieve in your opening. Check for tactical threats. Identify strong and weak squares. Identify strong and weak pieces. Consider the queen's position. Consider the king's position. Consider your long term plan. Consider your end game advantage. If you have the advantage going into the end game, then of course you want to force your opponent to go into the end game because you have the advantage. Always check for tactical threats because once you go into a tactical position, and if you're wrong, it's too late. So make sure that you're right. Of course, end game is basically an understanding of how to win particular end games that can be most easily achieved by just buying an appropriate book. Essential Principles of End Games. There's a book has somehow it has that title. And like I said, it's only $5-10. Might as well improve your game. And just do not play weak games, which means concentrate. And a lot of people don't like to concentrate on their chess. They just want to make quick, fast moves and not put any thought in it at all. Yeah, it's great to play speed games, to play bullet games, to play rapid games. If you've already paid your dues and you have a foundation of skills, and the challenge is to be able to apply those skills quicker, that's fine. But before you have those skills, if you want to play speed and wherever floats your boat, wherever makes you happy, but if you want to become a skilled player, regardless of what time control you have to play in, then you have to take your time, pay your dues. What I'm going to do, number one, if you're interested in Fritz 14, this is how you make your board bigger or your analysis bigger. You close a a window that you really don't need. So I'm going to close that. Make the board bigger, make the notations bigger, and let's get started. This is a very short game, that's why I talk so much at the beginning. But let's do it. E4, E4. I'm still at the recording of this game, interested in the Rue Lopez. We talked about these moves before. Okay, this is really not different, but he went and immediately developed the bishop. I defended my central pawn. He defended his central pawn. I really was not positive about this move. The computer can go either way. It really is still saying that there's an equal position. What I anticipate is black exchanging it off, and I think once I get the pawn at e3, I have a very solid center. And my idea at the time of this move is if I could get in d4, it'll be even better. After I played d4 and analyzed it, I'm not sure that's better because I can never take at e5. That'll give me triple isolated pawns. So, I mean, I might be able to push d4, but I probably should leave it there. And maybe I should just leave it there after taking at e3. The advantage could very well be simply having control of f4 and having control of d4 might be good enough to play on. But in case, the computer's evaluation of the position as it stands now is equal. He did take it off. He did take it off. I'm going back to development. I'm not sure about this knight to d2 move. Sometimes you use this maneuver so that you don't have to push up to h pawn and you don't have problems with this pin. You can release that pin and then taking will be fine. That was my idea. But I'm also thinking that knight to c3 might have been better because you're reaching into your opponent's position and you still have some options with your queen. The drawback of this move is it kills that d2 option for your queen. If you ever go c3 and then queen to c2, I mean, that knight is blocking your defense of the king's side. But it's really not a bad move. Oh, I can put this back now. Let's keep going forward. h3. That's interesting. Now, I talked about this before, but the position appears to be very quiet. So what do? You prepare for other phases of the game. You might make a maneuver that's actually useful in your middle game. You might make a maneuver that's useful in your end game. This maneuver here is probably useful in the end game because after pieces and everything have been exchanged, sometimes your back rank can become very vulnerable. Well, can make for a very dangerous position for your king. If these pawns are still here and all the pieces are out here doing their thing, sometimes your opponent can have a mating chance on that back rank. You'll see the mate coming, but sometimes it'll cost you a move to defend it. So you might as well make the move now when everything in the position is quiet. Knight f2, he took away white's option to weaken the pawn structure. d2, getting those pieces all developed. His next move is to find a way to get those rooks either connected or on more active files. Means run into his pawn right next to him, run into his pawn right next to him. d4, there's a d4 that I really wanted to make. Whether or not it's a good move or not is still questionable. But of course I had the computer analyze the position and I'm not really that bad off right now. Now one of the things that I passed up mentioning, my bishop to c4 move a couple moves ago, might as well go back to it, not like we have anywhere else to go or I have anywhere else to go. I took 1 minute and 38 seconds to make this move. So that's where all my time went, or a big chunk of my time. Okay, I put a note on here that's a bad move, even though I'm still pretty much even in the position. But I considered it a bad move because it really didn't make any threats in the center. Black can just sit back and watch it. And if I had been looking really close into the game, I would have saw that Black's plan is to achieve space on the queen side. And that's exactly what he did. Okay, and here the biggest comment, even though Black has a slight advantage in this position, but his greater advantage is the fact that I don't have any time. So either you lose on time or you end up making a really bad move just trying to make the time. And here I was so wrapped up in the game, I just lost on time. Okay, that's another game for the books. I'm putting out a lot of games because what else do I have to do during this time of social distancing? Okay, look for another game tomorrow. There was a comment I wanted to make, but apparently it has slipped my mind, so I will bid you adieu.